Welcome to Kentucky Cryptid Chronicles, where the Bluegrass state's folklore walks, and the cryptids you've heard about might just be closer than you think.
Imagine you're taking a quiet walk in the woods, maybe driving home late at night, and out of nowhere you see something that just shouldn't exist, something hairy, fast, and intensely aggressive. What do you even do? Today we're taking a deep dive into some really intriguing, honestly, quite terrifying cryptids. We're talking the mysterious devil monkeys, the menacing Spottsville monster, and these spectral white things.
Yeah, these aren't your typical Bigfoot sightings. These creatures bring a whole new level of what was that?
Exactly. And our mission today is really to unpack the eyewitness accounts, look at the peculiar characteristics, and explore the various theories surrounding these elusive beings.
Right.
We'll explore why they're so hard to categorize, what makes them unique, and maybe what they tell us about the hidden corners of our world, or perhaps, the limits of our own perception. You've given us a great stack of sources here, and we're ready to guide you through the dense forests of cryptozoology. So if you've ever felt that chill down your spine when a twig snaps in a quiet forest, or maybe wondered what lurks just beyond the headlights on a dark road, then this deep dive is definitely for you. We think we're going to give you some aha moments, maybe change how you think about those unexplained noises in the night. Okay, so let's unpack this first one, the devil monkey. I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a horror movie, and honestly, the descriptions, they don't really disappoint, do they? What exactly are we talking about here?
No, they don't. And yeah, the devil monkey is generally described as a large baboon-like primate. Importantly, quite distinct from Bigfoot.
Okay.
But what's really striking isn't just their appearance, shaggy, maybe canine-faced, but the incredible size variance. You have initial reports of maybe 3 to 4 feet tall.
Right, manageable.
But then some accounts swell to a towering 7 feet. That really blurs the lines into, hairy humanoid territory.
7 feet, wow.
And a key characteristic is their speed and agility. They're often seen scurrying or leaping through remote forests, apparently with remarkable ease, and propelled by these powerful, almost kangaroo-like legs.
So sort of a hybrid description again?
Yeah.
Baboon face, kangaroo legs. That size difference is quite a puzzle. What else makes them stand out?
Well, this is maybe the crucial distinction, aggression. Unlike the often shy Bigfoot, devil monkeys are frequently described as aggressive. They seem fearless, sometimes known for direct attacks, not just like trying to scare you off. This aggression, combined with those primate features, it really sets them apart.
Okay, direct attacks. So what are some of the most memorable encounters, the ones that really highlight these traits?
Well, the sightings stretch across the U.S. and even into Canada, going back decades. Early reports, like one from 1934 in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, talked about a beast that could leap across fields with lightning speed.
Lightning speed?
Yeah, covering maybe 20 feet in a single jump. That's what led to that early speculation about kangaroos,
Makes sense.
Then, fast forward to 1959, near Saltville, Virginia. The Boyd family reported an ape-like creature actually attacking their car, leaving 3 distinct scratch marks.
Attacking a car.
Yeah. And the daughter, Pauline, described it vividly. Light, taffy-colored hair, powerful hind legs, shorter front legs. Just days later, some nurses in the same area had their convertible top ripped off by something.
Wow. Okay. And more recently,
2018, Rocky V in Mammoth Cave National Park, Kentucky, reported seeing a man-sized white furry creature, said it was standing over 6 feet tall on its hind legs, had large canines, a monkey-like tail sort of bent over its head, seemed very menacing. These encounters, they consistently hit on speed, aggression, and just this unsettling presence.
Okay, from aggressive primates, let's shift gears. We turn to something that sounds even more formidable and, frankly, terrifying. The Spottsville monster. This isn't just a quick glimpse. This was an 11-month ordeal for a family.
Absolutely. This is a really intense case. In 1975, the Nunnally family moved to this isolated farmhouse in Spottsville, Kentucky, right near the Green River. They had actually been warned by a previous renter about a hairy feller looking in their window.
Oh, wow. They were warned.
They were, but they were completely unprepared for the terror that unfolded over nearly a whole year. It started with animal mutilations, chickens, a goat, even a horse just disappeared. And then they found mutilated carcasses, dogs, a pig, another goat.
Mutilated how?
Chillingly. They were described as sliced from groin to gullet with all internal organs, eyes, and tongues removed. But here's the really weird part. No blood, no footprints around the bodies, and apparently no scavengers would touch them.
Okay, that's incredibly disturbing. Not just killing, but these bizarre, almost surgical mutilations. What else did the family go through?
The fear for the Nunnallys was just constant. They reported loud, gulping noises from the nearby creek, strange sounds at night, sounds so bad that their guard dogs, described as vicious and highly treasured, were terrified, just scurrying under the house.
Even the guard dogs were scared.
Exactly. And the family themselves had sightings. Rose Nunnally saw a giant hairy shadow at least 8 feet tall by a shed. Her husband, Red, was apparently chased out of a tobacco field by it. Their 10-year-old son, Dean, saw it too, described a huge and tall creature, square jaw, small, close-set eyes, covered in reddish-gray hair, thin and patchy. All the kids saw it at one point, towering over the cornfield.
This sounds like a full-blown siege, and I'm hearing hints, like you said, of something maybe beyond just a large animal here. Those mutilations, the dog's reactions, it almost blurs the line between a cryptid and something. Well, something else, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The Spottsville monster really seemed to defy conventional understanding. It went way beyond what you'd expect from, just an unknown animal. Witnesses claimed it could appear and disappear at will. Yeah. Walk over freshly turned dirt without leaving tracks, even seemed impervious to bullets. And to add another layer, there were even reports of UFOs gliding silently beneath the Green River nearby during this same period. It really pushes into that high strangeness territory.
Okay, UFOs too. This story keeps getting wilder.
It does. And a local firefighter and hunter, a guy named Roy, he befriended the Nunnallys and got deeply involved. He actually tracked the monster to an abandoned house nearby, fired at it, claimed it just vanished before his eyes.
Vanished?
Vanished. He did later find some trace evidence, hair, a claw, and importantly, a partial plaster cast of a 4-toed footprint.
4 toes, not 5 like a bear or ape.
4 toes.
Wow.
But maybe the most chilling part. Roy described an encounter in an old barn. He said the creature, huge, hairy, red eyes, long fangs, spoke to him telepathically.
Telepathically, what did it say?
According to Roy, it said, "Don't be afraid, I will not harm you." Then it vanished, leaving no tracks. The experience was so traumatic, Roy was apparently clinically dead for a brief time before being resuscitated.
Okay, telepathy, vanishing, resuscitation. This is, wow. The idea that a family was driven from their home, a man threatened, possibly killed and brought back.
Yeah.
All over a cryptid. That story really makes you question things. What about, the official response? Police?
Well, initially, the state police were just dismissive, reportedly laughing at the crazy story. As things got worse, they apparently just refused to respond.
They stopped responding.
That's the report. And even more disturbing, later on, state police and maybe federal game officials allegedly confiscated all of Roy's evidence, the hair, the claw, that plaster cast. They supposedly threatened him with arrest if he spoke publicly.
They confiscated the evidence.
And forced him to sign a statement saying he'd only seen a large black bear. The plaster cast was eventually returned to him, smashed into powder.
Smashed.
Yeah.
That sounds like a cover-up.
It certainly raises questions. The local paper, The Gleaner, did run an article dubbing it the Spottsville Monster, but the story eventually faded after the official debunking.
And that decision by Red Nunnally, preparing to burn his own house down with his family inside rather than let the creature take them, that speaks volumes about the sheer terror they must have felt.
It really does. Facing this escalating, unexplainable threat and hearing Roy's final warning that if the creature decided to take one of the children, there would be nothing anyone in this world could do. Red made that grim choice. Soon after, they just packed up and moved back to the city, fled their home.
Just unbelievable. Okay, let's shift our gaze again, this time to Appalachia, primarily, another category. The white things. These seem to share some similarities, but also stand out.
Yeah.
How do they fit into this picture of hairy humanoids?
Right, the white things. It's more of an umbrella term, really. It covers cryptids consistently reported as having white fur, long claws, sharp fangs. But beyond that baseline, the descriptions vary a lot.
And so?
Well, they range from canine-like to feline to more hominid forms. Some of the hominid ones are even described with single-point horns. So they often share traits with both Sasquatch and devil monkeys, especially the larger, more upright variants, but they're a really diverse category.
Horns, okay. Tell us about some of the encounters then.
A lot of sightings come out of rural West Virginia. Take the sheep squatch, for instance. There was a case in 2004, Breckinridge County, Kentucky. 2 hunters, Dakota Cheeks and Ricky Joyce. They found their dog dead, head twisted around.
Oh, horrible.
Yeah. The next day, they encountered this massive, maybe 9-foot-tall figure, white fur, long talons. It let out what they called an ungodly, gut-curling growl. and charge them.
9 feet tall and charging.
Exactly. This type, later identified as a sheepsquatch, the name's a bit of a giveaway, a portmanteau, blending Sasquatch-like build with woolly white fur and maybe curving horns like a sheep or ram.
Sheepsquatch. Got it. Any others?
Oh, yeah. Another chilling one, late 70s or early 80s, West Virginia. Deer hunters heard this scream like a woman in agony. Then a white thing tackled one of them down a hill. The hunter insisted he felt it bite him, even felt his entrails snapped out of his body.
Yeah.
But physically he was unharmed, not a scratch.
Felt it, but wasn't actually hurt. That's bizarre, almost phantom-like.
Exactly. It adds to that spectral quality some reports mention. And it's not just Appalachia. Alabama has the white fang legends going back 150 years. Pennsylvania had a white Bigfoot captured on video in 2008, though the quality is, as usual, debated.
Okay, so these varied accounts, charging monsters, phantom attacks, horned figures, they paint a picture of this white furred entity, mainly in Appalachia, that really defies easy classification. It seems to blend apex predator traits with something, well, stranger. So what are the running theories here? What could these white things be?
Yeah, it's a good question, especially because of that variety. One theory specifically links the sheepsquatch sightings to the contaminated TNT area in Mason County, West Virginia. That was a former WWII munitions plant. Lots of weird history there. So maybe environmental pollution?
For mutant theory.
Sort of, yeah. Others think white thing isn't one creature, but maybe covers two distinct types, one being a horned, hairy hominid and the other a four-legged predator, like a cat, dog, or bear type. But then there's the more skeptical take, of course. Misidentification, rare albino predators, bears, mountain lions, wolves, especially since most sightings happen at night in isolated areas. Fear and suggestion can really warp what you think you see.
That makes sense too. Misidentification is always a possibility. So it's fascinating how these different cryptids, devil monkeys, the Spotsville monster, white things, they seem to share some traits, like the whole hairy humanoid thing, but they also have these really distinct features.
Yeah.
What does this all mean when we try to make sense of it? Is there a connection?
That's the crucial point, isn't it? The similarities, bipedalism sometimes, hairy bodies, aggression. In many cases, they do suggest maybe a category of phenomena, not necessarily one single species.
Right.
But the differences are just as stark. The devil monkey's baboon face and kangaroo legs, that's very different from the more Bigfoot-like Spotsville monster. Or the, sheep-like sheepsquatch. This lack of a uniform picture makes it really hard to classify them neatly. It makes the idea of a single undiscovered species pretty unlikely, honestly. We might be looking at multiple things, or maybe different interpretations of something else.
Okay, so if a single species is unlikely, what about evidence? We hear a lot about Bigfoot footprints, but for these guys, what do we have? And you mentioned that photo.
Yeah, physical evidence is remarkably scarce. That's a really significant point, especially when you compare it to the sheer number of alleged Bigfoot tracks.
Yeah.
For the devil monkey, there was that mention of Rick Rainbow recording a shriek, but it's not public, so hard to verify. But the most interesting piece, maybe, is that photographic evidence. We touched on the infamous DeRitter roadkill photo from 1996.
Right, the one in Louisiana. Barbara Mullins took it, claimed it was simian-faced, dead, size of St. Bernard. Some cryptozoologists thought, maybe this is it, a devil monkey. But our deep dive into the sources, it included a pretty detailed analysis of that photo, didn't it? Used a clever trick.
It did. Our investigation, using the standardized width of Louisiana road markings, those white lines are usually 4 inches wide, used that as a scale.
Smart.
And based on that, the analysis calculated the creature's length was only about 25 centimeters. That's roughly 10 inches. Shoulder height around 20 centimeters, maybe 8 inches.
10 inches, so definitely not a St. Bernard.
Absolutely not. It even rules out a Pomeranian, which is what the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries initially claimed it was. A Pom is often bigger than that.
So what was it then?
The analysis suggests maybe a smaller dog, like a mongrel, or possibly even a raccoon. The witness mentioned finger-like toes on its front paws, and raccoons, native to Louisiana, have those hand-like paws. So what looked like maybe strong evidence? Probably just a case of misidentification, blown way out of proportion by the lack of scale in the photo.
A classic example of perspective playing tricks. Okay, so beyond photo misidentification, What are the main conventional explanations people offer for these sightings? Could they just be known animals, maybe escaped exotics or something?
That's a very common and frankly logical line of thinking, especially for the devil monkey with those simian descriptions. One idea is escaped monkeys.
Makes sense on the surface.
Yeah, the arguments for it are the simian face, the aggression, especially if it was captive bred, and the tail, which rules out things like chimps or gorillas. And Florida does have established wild populations of vervet and rhesus macaques. They can be about 1/2 meter tall, and they are known to be aggressive. But the size discrepancy is huge. Devil monkeys are often reported as human-sized or larger. Rhesus macaques aren't nearly that big. Plus, monkeys don't usually move by leaping huge distances like described. And critically, outside of Florida, there just aren't known wild monkey populations in the U.S. It doesn't explain sightings in Tennessee or Illinois.
Okay, so escaped monkeys maybe don't fit most reports.
Right.
What about the kangaroo idea? Those leaping descriptions seem to point that way.
That's another compelling theory, yeah. The kangaroo-like legs, the ability to leap great distances up to 20 feet, that fits kangaroos perfectly. Strong hind legs, short front arms, thick tail. It lines up with many descriptions.
Right.
And red kangaroos, they can get up to 5.25 feet tall, stand upright, and they can be aggressive, punching, clawing, biting. Plus, phantom kangaroo sightings, escaped kangaroos basically, have been reported across the U.S. and Canada for years.
So a stronger fit maybe.
Maybe. But again, there are problems. The biggest one is the face. The simian face, described for devil monkeys, just doesn't fit a kangaroo at all. And while kangaroos make sounds, they aren't usually described as the incredibly frightening screams witnesses report. Also, while smaller wallabies sometimes establish populations outside Australia, the larger species like red kangaroos rarely seem to.
So, escaped monkeys and kangaroos. They explain some bits, but leave big holes, especially that simian face and the sheer size in some reports. But here's where it gets really interesting, right? How do these conventional explanations account for stories that seem to predate any possibility of escaped monkeys or kangaroos being widespread in North America? What does Native American folklore tell us?
Exactly. This is where it gets really compelling, and it challenges those simpler explanations. Several Native American tribes, especially up in Canada and Alaska, have these ancient legends of monkey people or tailed people. And the descriptions strikingly resemble modern devil monkey reports long before any monkeys or kangaroos were brought over.
Ancient legends? Like what?
Well, for instance, the Otna people of Canada and Alaska talk about the sightings. It means tailed people. They describe them as almost human, walking upright, human-like faces and hands, but covered in hair, except the face, and crucially, having tails. They were said to be taller than average humans, too.
Tailed people.
And there's a horrifying legend where the sightings were aggressive hunters who used their tails to help them make high, long jumps. The legend even says they played games with decapitated human heads. The Otna eventually claimed they eradicated them.
Wow. That's intense. Are there similar stories?
Oh, yeah, widespread belief. The Tanana and Ingalik speak of chinkat, furry, tailed, aggressive little men who kill and sometimes eat humans. The Tanana call them seton, look like old men but with tails, murderers, rapists. Some tales say they were wiped out, others that they're almost immortal. The Gwich'in, Dalton Dean tribes, they all have similar folklore about monkey people or tailed men.
That's really remarkable, the consistency, the tails, the aggression. Centuries before Europeans brought monkeys, it blows the escaped animal theory out of the water for these ancient accounts, doesn't it? But
yeah.
Could there be another explanation for these old tales?
Well, this raises a really important question, doesn't it? There's a historical cultural theory that suggests these monkey people might actually be a sort of demonized version of rival human tribes.
Demonized humans. How would that work?
Think about it. If you want to justify conflict with, or even exterminating, a rival group, portraying them as monstrous, inhuman, aggressive, maybe even cannibalistic, it's a common tactic throughout history. Over centuries of retelling stories, exaggerating physical traits, maybe things get distorted. A rival tribe becomes animalistic, hairy, develops a tale in the folklore. For example, the Tanana's Chinkat sounds phonetically quite similar to the Chilkat tribe, who were a real neighboring, sometimes warlike human group.
So turning enemies into monsters in stories. I think you shared an example before about extreme misidentification, something about a gorilla.
Ah, yes. The Maori gorilla incident from 1870 New Zealand. It's a stark example. Newspapers went wild, reporting a captured ape-man tusks, weird features. It was first called a seal, then this ape-man. Turns out, after all the sensationalism and third-hand reports, it was an elderly Maori woman.
Serious.
Seriously. Now, racism definitely played a part, but the sheer physical distortion came from hearsay, fear, sensationalism. It shows how easily narratives can warp perception, turning a person into a monster in the retelling.
Okay, so the idea is that these ancient folktales might be rooted in very real human conflict, just distorted over generations into cryptid stories, while still being a really powerful part of that culture's history and memory.
Precisely. That's the theory. However, and this is crucial, this theory mostly applies to the ancient folklore. It doesn't easily explain the modern first-hand eyewitness accounts of devil monkeys or similar creatures. Unless you think all modern witnesses are just fabricating stories for attention, which seems unlikely. I mean, why pick such an obscure cryptid for fame? Then there's still this gap, a gap between modern sightings and purely folkloric or misidentification explanations. Makes you wonder if there's something else going on entirely.
Wow. What a deep dive this has been. We've journeyed through the really unsettling world of devil monkeys, the genuinely terrifying ordeal of the Spottsville monster, and the varied accounts of these white things. We've seen creatures described with baboon faces and kangaroo legs, entities that seem to have supernatural abilities, encounters so intense they literally force families to flee their homes. We even dissected some supposed photographic evidence and peeled back layers of really ancient folklore.
Yeah, and we've explored theories ranging from misidentified exotic animals like kangaroos or monkeys to escaped primates, and even that fascinating possibility of these legends stemming from demonized human rivals in ancient times. Yet for so many modern sightings and the sheer consistency of certain strange traits, we're still left without fully satisfying answers, aren't we? That near-complete absence of solid physical evidence remains a huge challenge, especially when you compare it to something like Bigfoot tracks. It really raises the question, if these things exist, why are they so good at staying hidden and leaving almost nothing behind?
So what really stands out to you, the listener? Is the devil monkey just a catch-all term for any aggressive, tailed, simian-ish cryptid? Or is there truly some undiscovered species? Maybe these tales, both ancient and modern, they just serve as powerful reminders. Reminders of the vast, untamed mysteries that might still lie hidden in our world, constantly challenging our nice, neat understanding of what's real and what might just be a figment of our deepest fears. Makes you think, doesn't it? The next time you hear an unexplained sound out in the wilderness, you might just wonder, was that a devil monkey? A Spottsville monster? Or maybe a white thing leaping just out of sight?
That's all for tonight's file. But remember, in Kentucky, the strange is never far from home. Until next time, keep your lantern lit and never stop listening to the hills.